Friedrich Nietzsche famously defined nihilism as the idea that, quote, any aim is lacking, any answer to the question why is lacking. So what does nihilism mean? That the supreme values devaluate themselves, end quote. Now, admittedly, that is one person's philosophical understanding, but it is a sort of logical endpoint, I think, for a strictly worldly or earthly concept of the reality of life. If our existence on this earth, that is the period of time while our heart is pumping and our lungs are breathing and we are physically alive, if that is all that there is, then one should indeed or could indeed ask themselves questions like, is there a real meaning to life? What's the point of all of this? Can I live with any real purpose or hope? Different people have different answers to these queries, but everyone runs into problems when things like pain and suffering, disease, and loss are brought into the equation. In other words, if your life goal is to have fun, to leave the world a better place, to pass on your genetics to the next generation, then things like war or cancer or disasters throw a wrench into your stated purposes. This is what led Nietzsche and others to conclude that life is rather meaningless. Now look, I don't agree with him, but again, I understand how you could come to this conclusion. In the midst of the experiences of trials and tragedy, or even being exposed to it, it's an easy place to arrive at. The Bible, however, adamantly pushes back against that conclusion. Consider 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 through 18. So we do not lose heart. Though our outer selves is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light and momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. Let me offer just a few observations. First, the Bible is bluntly honest. Our outer selves, that is our bodies, will fade away over time. There is no escaping decay and death. That awaits all of us at one point or another. Second, notice the way that this affliction is described and contrasted. It's portrayed as light and momentary. This only makes sense when it's compared to the infinite weightiness or the value of experiencing God's glory for all eternity. Third, the instruction is that this reality sort of works backwards from the future to the present in the form of hope. In other words, the difficulties of this life prepare us for eternity. They remind us that our lives and the gospel of Jesus are held, as Paul wrote just a few verses before, as treasures in jars of clay, to show the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us. That is, God's glory, power, and goodness shine forth even more clearly in our weakness. These moments remind us that all that the world has to offer is temporary, while the things of God are eternal. They remind us that knowing God is our greatest treasure, and they remind us ultimately that life isn't meaningless. By the grace of God, even the dark seasons have a purpose, and this is a gift. Because of this, we can live in hope. The hope that in God's economy, all things pay dividends and nothing is wasted. The challenge for us then is in the good times and the bad, that we look to Jesus, trusting that He has a plan for our lives and that it is good and perfect and is leading us into the abundant and eternal life that He has promised us.